Each candidate will speak for, well, actually, I'm going to let Richard Uchida talk about that. I'm going to give him the format. I did want to recognize some of the candidates that are not representing contested wards are here with us tonight, and I wanted to recognize their presence. They will not be speaking, but they did come to join us. So Brent Todd from Ward 1 is here. Brent, are you right? There he is, back there. Byron Champlin from Ward 4, next to Brent. Keith Nyan from Ward 7 is here somewhere this evening. Keith, welcome. Also, Alan Hirschlag from Ward 2 is here. Alan, welcome. And did I see Fred Keach in the room? Fred? Yep, Fred Keach is also here. His term is not up, but he is with us this evening. So that it is now my pleasure to introduce our moderator. Richard Uchida is with the firm of Hinckley Allen. He's a member of the Local Government Affairs Committee, and he has graciously agreed to moderate this evening event. So please welcome Richard Uchida.
Great. Well, thank you. Tim, thanks very much, and welcome everybody. We're going to do a little bit of speed dating tonight. That's sort of the way this format is going to work. So let me just explain the format. We're going to give each candidate 1 minute to provide an opening statement, perhaps a little bit about who they are and why they chose to run for the seat that they're running for. We're going to give each candidate 1 minute to respond to a particular question that I will ask. They've been given those questions in advance, but they don't know which one that I'm going to ask. And then after each candidate is done, we'll give each candidate right after their response is done 30 seconds or so to just give some closing remarks and some thoughts for you about why they're running and what they hope to accomplish for the city. In the case of the mayoral candidates, we're going to actually be asking them 2 questions, but they only get 1 minute to answer per question. And then at the end, we hope we have some time to have all of you ask some questions from the floor of particular folks who may be running for ward seats or at large or for the mayor's race. As you know, we have a number of contested races. We have in Ward 3, Jennifer Kretovic, Chris Pannapacker, and Robert Harrison here. In Ward 6, we have Chris Minery, who I understand couldn't make it this evening, and Tim Willis. Thanks, Tim. And in Ward 8, we have Gail Matson and Dennis Soucy. Ward 9, we have Candace Bouchard and Lenny O'Keefe. And at large candidates, we've got Mark Coen, Steve Shurtleff, Shawn Riley, and then Dave Teune, who couldn't make it this evening, as well as Jim Baer, who I understand couldn't make it this evening. We have James Bouley, the current mayor, who is here. And we understand Paul Brogan, who is his opponent, is supposed to be here this evening. And if we get to his questions and he's not here to answer them, I will answer them for him. How about that? Yeah. Some of you may know me. I appear quite a bit in Concord closed-circuit television. I know the camera puts more weight on me and I'm shorter than I appear, but I'm the person who is always on the planning board and zoning board meetings. So with that, on behalf of the Greater Concord Chamber of Commerce, we're going to jump off and get started. So what I'd like to do this evening is start with the ward candidates, and we're going to start with Ward 3. And we're just going to go in alphabetical order, and each candidate is going to get the same question so you can compare and contrast. And so that means, Jennifer, you are up first. So if you could provide about a 60-second introduction,
Sure.
And then I'll ask you your question.
Okay. Hi, everybody. For weeks, I've been talking with the residents in Ward 3, and the one question I'm asked the most is, why am I running for city council? I want to be involved and make a difference. Now, anybody could say that. I want to be involved. I want to make a difference. For 27 years, I have been fully involved in this community. 13 years volunteering for the Chamber of Commerce, in-town Concord Pennacook Village Association, Concord Historical Society, SIPN, 2 years on the City Council, Concord 250, Crisis Center for Central New Hampshire, 10 years as a scout leader, going to heaven for that. PTO and the Student Actors Program, which brings up the most important role I have, which is a mother, a wife, and a daughter. There's an old saying, a blind man is walking to a well, and another man is watching. The blind man falls in. Who's to blame? It's not my nature to be a bystander. It's more than just listening. It takes action. I show up, I'm prepared, I pay attention, I get involved, I'm fair, and I do make a difference. That's why I'm running for council, and I'm asking for your vote. Oh, my question.
Great, well, thank you. And you're in Ward 3, which is sort of part of Northwest Concord and sort of covers some of the area, North State Street going forward to Hutchins and then out to the west and northwest. And so in connection with the city's current infrastructure, what improvements do you think need to be addressed, especially in a ward that is sort of further outside the downtown core than some of the other wards that are represented here this evening?
Well, I think that the interesting part about the infrastructure question is it's really difficult to answer because you're talking about roads, buildings, the water treatment facility, and so on. If you lived on the east side, you'd probably say exit 16 is the most important. If you lived in the south end, it'd probably be the odor control at the water or wastewater treatment plant. If you're in Ward 3, for us, the biggest thing is the Route 3 corridor project and the Sewell Falls Bridge. And gloriously, we are in the last phase of the Route 3 project. It doesn't matter where we are in the city. We have to be savvy and take measured, well-thought approach to every single one of our infrastructure projects. They can be ranked according to their social and economic value, but also what is the critical mass that's going to happen here. Take, for example, the sinkhole on 93. Every community needs to be prepared for the unknown, and Concord is always prepared.
Thank you.
Is that
About
it?
30 seconds to talk about whatever else you want to talk about and to wrap up.
One of the questions that we're going to be talking about tonight, and many of the candidates are going to weigh in on, is homelessness and the opiate drug use in Concord. I really feel that one area that was missed is domestic violence. Because I serve on the Crisis Center Board, I think it's really important for our citizens to know this is a hidden crime, and when we don't talk about domestic violence in our community, we are letting it go unanswered. I would hope that at some point when people have a chance to ask questions that you'll do so, because we know somebody in the room right now. In fact, we probably know several people in the room right now that are victims of domestic violence, and we likely don't know anybody in the room that is homeless or anybody that has a heroin addiction. Thank you.
Jennifer, thank you.
So I'm running for City Council in Ward 3. I've lived and worked in Concord as a paralegal for about 4 years, and I bought my house on North State Street about 2 years ago. So my goal in running is just to get to know my community more, and this is a learning experience for me. I spoke to a friend of mine who's lived here a long time and has been active in politics, and he advised me that a better way of doing that is to run for supervisor of the checklist. So I'm also running a write-in campaign for supervisor of the checklist, and I hope you'll consider writing me in on November 3rd.
Chris, the same question for you. Given the ward that you hope to represent, how do you think about the city's current infrastructure, and what sort of priorities ought it to put on some of the infrastructure that's out there?
One of the complaints I've heard from residents is the side roads or back roads need to be paved. They're starting to crumble and they're getting out of date, so we need to find the funding to get that handled. And also, I don't know if it qualifies as infrastructure, but I think we should get Easy Park in this city. If those of you who don't know what it is, it's kind of like Easy Pass for parking meters. They have it in Manchester, Dover, and Portsmouth, and it's the same system for all three cities. And if we get that in Concord, I think that'd be very helpful.
And finally, a 30-second statement about anything you'd like to speak about in the context of the ward that you hope to represent, or the city.
Well, the city. For the opioid crisis, I think we should take a cue from the Gloucester, Massachusetts Police Department. Now, I'm not running for sheriff, and I don't have experience in law enforcement, but what they're doing in Gloucester is what they're calling the Gloucester Initiative, where they're saying if an addict goes to the police for help, they won't be arrested. They'll be given help instead. They'll be treated like a patient and not a criminal. And there's even a link on their website for addicts, and there's information for people who need help.
Great. Thank you, Chris.
Thanks.
Good evening. Thanks for everybody for coming out. My name is Robert Harrison. I'm running for Ward 3 City Councilor. I have lived in Ward 3 all my life. I think Concord is a great place to live. My wife Melinda and I have raised 2 children there, and Ward 3 has been excellent to us. While I'm campaigning, I have met and talked with a lot of people who share some of my concerns. We need to keep the tax rate down, attract more business to our city, and keep a watchful eye on our spending. We need to proceed with projects that are absolutely necessary and make sense. I am concerned with our current infrastructure of our city, and feel we can do a better job at maintaining what we currently have. I will work with city officials in finding a way to address the growing homeless crisis, and I'm interested in serving in the committee for Concord's plan to end homelessness. I will also work with city officials to find a way to address the heroin epidemic sweeping our community, and we will stand together. I believe we can make it happen. I hope I have your support on November 3rd, and thank you for listening.
So Rob, you mentioned some of the issues regarding infrastructure, and given the ward that you're thinking about representing, talk to us about those infrastructure needs, and what do you see as priorities in the context of infrastructure?
In Ward 3 in particular, Bog Road is one of probably the worst roads in Concord that definitely needs to be addressed. And there's a lot of people that travel that road from, say, Webster area. So that's one of the things what's one of the main roads in Ward 3 that I think definitely need to be addressed.
And as you look across the city?
In the city, in Ward 3, there is a lot of roads that need to be taken care of near the river, Kretovic River area. And again, the sinkhole hopefully our infrastructure is a lot better than, the sinkhole hopefully on 93 North was just something that happened and we can move along. But I think going forward with any major projects, we just need to pay attention to water lines, sewers, and et cetera.
Great. And you may have already covered this, but you've got 30 seconds to talk to the room about anything else that you deem important as part of your candidacy.
Going forward, definitely homelessness is important in the heroin epidemic. I mean, it's probably touched a lot of people in this room, their family. And we got to get drugs off the street somehow, so working extensively with the police department and families and getting it taken care of.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. My name is Timothy Willis. I was born and raised here in Concord, moved a couple times, came back. I remember Concord when it was the old cornfield on Fort Eddy Road, when 30 Pines was just a little shack. I've lived in a lot of different communities around the town. Right now I'm currently in Ward 6, so obviously that's where my interests are first, but I want to represent Concord as a whole, so I'll be acting more as an at-large candidate, but obviously putting my constituents' needs first and foremost. That being said, I've been going around the past few weekends. A lot of things that come up are the drug problem, property taxes, and the homeless. And I would like to take a progressive approach, and this is kind of new to me, so what I want to do is gather all the information I can, work with the existing councilors and the mayor, city manager, and learn and see what would be the best solutions, and put my 2 cents in and come up with what the best thing I think would be for our Ward 6 residents and on the city at large.
Chris, Ward 6 is the state.
Timothy.
Sorry, Tim. Ward 6 is the state campus. It's most of downtown south of Pleasant Street. It's the area sort of South Main Street to the river. Given that, and given what you've heard about the drug and homelessness issues, what's the city's role in addressing the drug and homelessness issues that you've heard about so far from the other candidates?
All right, I would like to see, the city in general, ward councilors, the mayor, is anybody involved, even private citizens, reach out more to the landlords and people that rent apartments to help screen on. There is no magic wand. There's nothing that's going to fix the drug problem. But we can do things that will kind of maybe reduce it, screen the tenants better, keep a close tabs on them, that kind of thing. As far as the homeless issue, we need to find the resources somehow to get them in a shelter. As far as the drug users go, we need to find them something, give them the opportunity and to point them towards the resources so they can help themselves. Also be more harsh on the actual dealers. If we start where the source is, the city has been doing fantastic with the drug bust recently, and we should build on that too.
And finally, Tim, about 30 seconds to talk about any other issues that you deem important as part of your candidacy.
Okay. Well, a few other things that I've noticed, and also that residents have been brought up to me, is the sidewalk plowing for routes that children walk to school and the bus stops. It's, the city's doing a great job there. And sometimes it's hard. You only got one or two snowplows that cover just the sidewalks. But more than one resident has told me that sometimes they'll go 2 or 3 days or more, and the kids got to walk, and the sidewalks aren't taken care of. So that we need to address that. And also, I'd like to see more youth programs for the older children for after school. That would be great too.
Tim, thank you.
Thank you.
I'm Gail Matson. I'm running for re-election for the Ward 8 City Council seat. I feel that I'm representative of most of the citizens of Concord. I work full-time. I'm a single mother of 2. I pay taxes. I want low taxes. I want good schools. I want good services for city and city services. I believe that I am so financially conservative and socially accepting. I'm organized. I am experienced, and I am a little shaky. There's a reason I was late. So anyway, I would just like to say that I think that sorry, lost my train. Anyway.
Well, let me give you a hand. So, Ward 8, south
Yes,
of Loudon
Ward 8,
Road,
south of
Manchester
Manchester
Street,
Street.
some of the whole southeast sector of the city. What are your thoughts about the city tax base, city economic development? What should be the city's approach on
Oh, for tax
enhancing
base,
tax base, enhancing economic development,
Tax
especially
base.
given your ward?
Okay. So what we need to do is a multifaceted approach that takes long and short-term views. We have several tools that we've been using, 79E tax credits and the revolving loan from the Community Development Block Grants. We should be taking a look at some of the developments through Stores Street, through Theater and into Langdon to try and see if there are opportunity corridors there, and some of the brownfield situations in Concord that we can try to work with. I think Main Street is representative of some of our success in that we have, I believe, 6 new businesses. We're generating new interest by putting in some infrastructure. I would say that we have, I believe 3 of those, or some of those businesses might have even started after the construction has come through. So I think we need to continue to work on that, and all of those things will help to develop our tax base. I think there are future opportunities on Manchester Street and Loudon Road. Thank you.
So 30 seconds to anything else on your mind that's important to your candidacy? And again, I know you rushed here from a little accident, so thank you for being here.
I think that from the infrastructure, actually I should go back to homelessness and the drug issue, I think we need to support our police and fire departments as first responders, as well as in their roles for task forces and committees where they're trying to work on state and local levels with combined efforts to address the issue. It is not a one issue. You can't simply provide the homeless with an apartment or address a drug dealer and resolve the situation. There's usually multiple reasons for it. So we need to address all of the underlying reasons that go with it, whether it be addiction, health services, job training, whatever that might be.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Dennis Soucy. I live in Ward 8. I've lived in Ward 8 for 31 years with my beautiful bride, Carol. We've raised 3 kids, and we're having our first grandbaby coming very shortly. I mean, to be my age, to have a first grandchild is going to change my life forever. And like I say, we live in Ward 8. We work in Ward 8. We go to church in Ward 8. When the time came for the election, I did not register to run for council. Well, the following day came around, I was bombarded by phone calls and people from church and work and telling me that I have to run. So a petition came about, and they got, I think it was 70 or 75 names on a petition, and they were all legal, and they all lived in Ward 8, and they all vote in Ward 8, so I had a change of heart after I talked to Janice, and I went down and put my name on the ballot.
I thought you were going to say you found out about that petition tonight.
Well, no, I didn't find out about it tonight. I found out about it from people during the day, the following day, and
So you're very familiar with Ward 8?
Oh, yeah.
Talk to us about economic development and tax base expansion, and what should be the city's approach, especially considering the ward that you're in?
well, Ward 8 is kind of like probably the forgotten ward of Concord. I mean, being what they called Burglar's Island way back in the plains. I mean, being on the other side of the river, a lot of people didn't recognize Ward 8 way back. We do have a lot of development land by the Concord Airport in that area, down on Chanel and Regional Drive. My wife and I, we have the adopt-a spot on Regional Drive, and we'll sit there and we'll walk Regional Drive and Airport Road, and we have cars go by and toot the horn and wave all the time, and we've talked to many people about the area and what can be done down with all that land, probably an office complex or housing or homeless shelter would be a good idea. We have a couple of state buildings down there that are half vacant right now across from the Comcast. I think they all moved over to Fruit Street, and we have all that. I know it's kind of far, 2 miles out of the city for a homeless shelter, but, you know, we can look into it.
Great. And then 30 seconds for anything else that might be on your mind in terms of your candidacy and the seat you're running for here in city government.
You know, if anybody knows me, and the people who do know me, know me. I mean, I'm me, I'll always be me, I won't give you no BS. I'm a straight shooter, I won't lie to you. If you want to know the truth, I'll tell you the truth, and if I don't know the answer, I'll tell you I don't know, but I will look it up. And I see my wife over here shaking her head like, oh no, here we go again. But, you know, and I'm retired, my wife is retired, we still work part-time, and working part-time now is more of a full-time job because of all the people I'm running into.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Good evening. Thank you all for coming tonight. I'm Candace CW Bouchard. I live in Ward 9, and Ward 9 is the east side of Loudon Road, and if you vote at Havenwood Heritage Heights at 33 Christian Ave, you're a Ward 9 constituent and hopefully a voter. My husband and I bought our home in Concord 28 years ago, where we raised our son Jed. And from then, I've been an active member in the community, volunteering on all kinds of things, from schools to on social issues. But I really got involved, and I see some of my friends here, neighbors and others who lived on the Heights community, with a grassroots group to address pedestrian traffic safety issue on Loudon Road. And that's what got me involved in local politics, and that is why I ended up running for city government. I at one time held 2 hats. I was state representative for 8 terms, and last term I decided not to run. So my focus for running is just to continue the things that this council has done. The Main Street project is exciting. It's a big project. I'd like to see it come to fruition, to see the end of the project. I think it's going to do great things for Concord. I think it's going to spur a lot of growth and interest for Concord. And also I'd like to see the follow through with Loudon Road with some traffic calming measures, and to move forward in that direction with Loudon Road. I hope that you will all remember to vote, and I look forward to continuing the projects that the city has been going forward on. Thank you.
So Candace, Ward 9, right across the street from Ward 8, and you mentioned Loudon Road and some of the work that's occurring there. I'm going to ask you the same question I asked the candidates for Ward 8. Talk to us about the city's role in economic development and tax base expansion, especially given the ward that you represent.
Okay, I believe the city's current multi-pronged approach is a successful model for economic development. There's just not one thing that you do for economic development. It relies on a lot of interrelated factors, good infrastructure, business support networks, Permits, making sure permits and other regulations are not barriers and that there's clarity in these permits. Streamlining requirements across multiple boards. That's something that the city has done, especially under the leadership of our mayor. These are all things that we have moved forward on. Also, studies have shown that many businesses, especially ones that pay high wages and give good benefits, like to locate in communities that have high quality of life. Safe communities, parks, trails, open spaces, walkable communities, recreation programs. These are all things that Concord has, and these are all things that the Heights has. The Heights is very walkable. The Heights, you can walk to almost get anything. We have the community center up there. There's open space now behind broken ground. So all these things add to a business, a company looking to locate in Concord or on Loudon Road. And the city should continue reaching out and promoting the Concord Development newsletter that focused on the city's industrial parks. And the Heights area is one of the largest off of Regional Drive. There will be 4 videos that will be produced focusing on the quality of life and development in Concord. There's the Main Street Minute, the partnerships with Concord Community TV that will highlight Concord and be on the YouTube. And the city should consider, I think, creating a business development director position or contract with the company to focus and improve what's in place to be aggressive. And I think we need to do that. We need for our neighborhoods to be healthy on the Heights. We need all the businesses to be healthy on the Heights. And we need a transportation system on the Heights that it works and is safe. Thank you.
And 30 seconds to wrap up, and I know Val's going to throw something at us if we're not careful, but if you could wrap up in 30 seconds, any other thoughts you've got?
Okay. I think a lot has been said about the homeless and the drug issue. I think that's a collaborative issue with our police and our various departments, and they've been very good working with state agencies and the medical community. I think one thing we could do is look to have a drug drop box within the Concord Police Department. That's something that's been done. So I think that is something we can address.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Lenny O'Keefe. I was actually born in the city of Concord. Me and my wife, who's here tonight, we raised 4 kids in the city of Concord. We have 2 that have graduated from Concord High and 2 that are currently in Concord High. Just a little bit about myself. I have worked in corrections and law enforcement for over 20 years. And you can ask anybody that knows me, and there are some of you who know me in here. I love what I do. In 2013, I was recognized on a national level by the American Jail Association as the Training Officer of the Year. Out of almost 4,000 jails in the United States, a correctional officer that works in a small jail in the town of Bosquen, New Hampshire, was chosen by his peers to receive this distinction. I was also recognized by the Chamber of Commerce and was recognized as the W. Grant McIntosh Volunteer of the Year for my work with leadership and with the CASEL program. All this recognition comes because of my passion for what I do and those things that mean dear to me. And I can guarantee you that same passion I would bring to the City Council.
So you heard my question to your opponent, Ward 9, given the ward, talk to us about the city's role in economic development and tax base expansion.
You couldn't give me the heroin one? No.
Too obvious? A little obvious?
So I spent the last 2 days doing all the research I could on economic development. Probably the least one I know the most about, right? But I have to tell you, the city of Concord I grew up in had many businesses that supported the city of Concord, manufacturing jobs. There was the tannery, there was Hoyt's Electric, there was Rumford Press, there was Rivco, place that I used to work. That's where I started my career. But it sustained a big part of the city. Those places really don't exist anymore. According to the internet, our largest employers in the city of Concord is the state of New Hampshire, Concord Hospital, Genesis Healthcare, Concord School District, the New Hampshire State Hospital, and so on, and so on, and so on. On that top 10 list, there's no high tech and there's no manufacturing jobs. We talk about our kids going to college and not coming back. They're not coming back because there's not a vast majority of the jobs that they're going to college for. Like, for example, high-tech jobs. One of the things I would like us to see, and I looked at the Concord website, and Concord's doing a ton about economic development. But one of the things I would like to see is we have the tech, and the tech has a lot of high-tech programs at the New Hampshire Technical College. And I would like to see us partner through innovation and through startup companies with these young kids at the technical college. We have to realize that Facebook, places like that started with college kids as startup programs. And I think Concord needs to embrace the tech and what's going on over there, a robotics program and so on. So.
Great. 30 seconds, and here is your opportunity.
There's my opportunity. So I agree with Jennifer Kretovic about the domestic violence thing, but I have to tell you, 2 months ago, mental health and the lack of funding for mental health was what was in the newspaper and what we were talking about. That mental health crisis is not everybody that's homeless and not everybody that's using drugs has a mental health issue. But those things are 3 things we should be talking about. None of them separate, but all together. So it should be mental health, homelessness, and the heroin epidemic or the drug epidemic. City of Concord has had a methadone clinic since 2007. In 2011, 380 people, according to them, went through their door every single day. Is this a new epidemic? It's not a new epidemic, people. We need to work. We need to work as a community. We need to support the police department. But the city is not going to fix this problem without partnering with the state and the counties and the state prison. That's how we're going to fix this problem.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Good evening. My name is Mark Coen. I'm a 44-year resident of Concord, and coincidences, I've been married for 44 years from a native of Concord, Tracy, and so that's really why I'm here. For the last 17 years, I've been the president of Page Belting Company, a manufacturer of great industrial leather products. And for the last 9 years, I've been serving on the city council as a councilor at large. In my 30 seconds I got left here, I just want to talk about something that was very important when I first joined the council. We went into a deep, deep recession, and that's a great time to get involved in city politics. And what I was so impressed with was that there was a movement within the state of having a tax cap, and the city council rejected that. And what we did over the last 8 years, we've been under the tax cap, if there was one implemented. I feel that the council itself has done a marvelous job of keeping the tax rate down and providing the services of safety that we need, and also for the infrastructure of Sewell's Falls and Route 3. Thank you.
Thanks. Mark, give us a glimpse of your vision of Concord 10 years from now. What are the things that you're going to do to help Concord get there?
Well, first thing, the south end will not smell. That should be done by then. And we're working on it and continuing. In fact, I haven't smelled much of it lately, so we might have cured that. But the other thing is, I think one of the, what's going to happen is that we will see an influx of younger people moving into Concord with what we're doing with Main Street. And also, in 10 years, I really predict we'll be a destination for tourism because of the historical nature of what's in this city and the buildings and the history in the city, and that will happen. And it'll still be viable. The advantage we have is simple. It's a seat of the state government, and so we have the stability of that going for us for economic reasons.
Great. And 30 seconds for anything else you want to talk about in the context of your candidacy.
Not my grandchildren or, okay. So the thing I really want to, what we're talking about tonight is typical of what happens with the council. It's not just a one-issue term. I mean, there's dozens and dozens of things that council has to deal with. And things pop up all the time that we're not aware of. And I have to say, in the 9 years I've been on the council itself has really worked well. It's, there's no labels on us, political affiliations, and everyone I've worked with and sat with on the council, their number one goal is for the betterment of the city of Concord. And I think it's really been a joy working with them, and I want to continue doing that.
Mark.
First off, I'm Shawn Riley. I'm 46 years old, which I guess is only 2 years longer than Mark has been living in Concord. Also, I was a little disappointed Mark didn't talk about his grandchildren because his granddaughter and my daughter are actually best friends. So Sam would be happy to have her name mentioned here. I live in Concord. I live here with my 2 children. I have a 9-year-old girl who goes to Chris McAuliffe. I have a 14-year-old son who goes to Concord High. They play sports. They're active in the community. They have friends here and roots here. Unfortunately, it's just us. My wife, unfortunately, died last December after losing her battle with cancer. But that experience showed me how great of a community Concord was. Everybody came out in force, and it made me proud to be here. I have always loved Concord. First came to Concord, 15 seconds. I don't know if I can do this. I first came to Concord when I was a student at the Tech, and I came back here in '97. I worked for the city for a decade as a firefighter. About 8 years ago, I took a job as a deputy chief in Laconia, and my time has expired. Okay. That's okay.
Talk to us about your vision of Concord 10 years from now and some of the things you might work on to get to that vision.
Okay, well, first off, I have to actually look backwards and say kudos to the current and past city councils. I think they've done a great job of moving Concord in the right direction. I've been around Concord since the late 1980s, and I've seen tremendous changes in our infrastructure and just the aesthetics of the city. And I think keeping the city on the same trajectory is important. Some things that I would like to see, I agree with Mark that my vision in 10 years, I think Concord is going to be a much more of a destination location, and I think doing things like bringing major events. In Laconia, I do a lot of coordination with Pumpkin Fest and Bike Week and other things, and that brings a lot of people. It really helps the businesses. It really helps the city. So I think encouraging those sorts of events would be wonderful, such as bringing back First Night would be a wonderful thing. I also have and I only have 15 seconds left here, so I can't talk about my downtown parking plan, but I think there's great opportunities with the parking fund and some opportunities that we can do to really encourage people to come downtown and enjoy Concord.
And we'll give you 30 seconds to talk about your parking plan or anything else you want to talk about in your candidacy.
I think in my last 30 seconds, one thing that I think we can do, I went back to school, I've got an MBA, and one thing I sort of focused on was Lean Six Sigma efficiencies. And one thing every organization, I know city departments have done this in Concord, and I know other hospital organizations have done this, but going through a process where you look for value and you look to eliminate waste. And I give you a quick example here. You know, how many office procedures you photocopy a piece of paper and file it never to be used again. You look for these opportunities. It helps with efficiency, permitting processes, and my time's expired again. I talk just too much. Okay, sorry.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Steve Shurtleff, and I want to thank all of you for being here tonight, as well as the Chamber for sponsoring this event. I was born and raised here in Concord, and for over 20 years now I've lived in Ward 1, the village of Pannapacker. And I know what each of you know, what a great city Concord is to live, to work, and to raise a family. And I'm proud of what I've accomplished along with the other councilors under the leadership of Mayor Bouley over these past 8 years to make Concord such a great community. But we know we have challenges. Some of those have already been mentioned tonight: homelessness, the opioid addiction, and others. And I look forward to working with the council in the future to take care of these issues and others that face our city.
Thanks. Imagine Concord 10 years from now. Give us your vision of that and some of the things that you'll work on, Steve, to help get there.
Yeah. Well, first of all, Mayor Bouley will be debating whether to run for another term, I'm sure. And decide he will. I think we've got a lot to do to make Concord the wonderful city it is, but it's a community effort. As has already been stated, Concord will be a community destination for people to come to. We're working now to try to get the State House open on Saturdays. It's a people's house. It should be available to the individuals to see. We're looking forward to the Wynett Memorial and people learning about our adopted son, John Wynett, and coming to learn more about his service to our state and our country. I see education becoming a big part of what's going to happen in Concord. New Hampshire Institute of Technology is a tremendous institution, as well as the UNH Law Center. I see that becoming even more important as we move forward. Concord has so much to offer, and I think the best days are ahead of us.
And Steve, 30 seconds to talk about anything else that would be important as an at-large candidate.
I mentioned earlier that some of the two issues we're facing, and it's already been touched on, is drug abuse and homelessness. I really believe that a lot of that is rooted in mental health. In 2010, the state was supposed to give $90 million to the mental health community. They did not. They had to go to court, and this past year, the legislature gave that $90 million. We've got to not run the state government by court degree. We've got to step up and do the right thing for those suffering from various forms of mental health problems. They are our family, they are our friends, and we've got to give them the services they need and get them the treatment they deserve.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Do I get double the time since this?
I already told you how we're treating this.
Yeah. Well, welcome everybody, and I always like to say, welcome to another great day in the city of Concord, because every day is a great day in the city of Concord, right? First, I want to thank the Chamber and the hosts for sponsoring this event tonight. It's great to see all of you here tonight. It's been an honor and a real privilege to be able to serve as Concord's mayor for the past 8 years. And by the way, I'm reading and speaking as fast as I can. It's something that I have never taken lightly. Every day I know it's a real privilege to be the mayor of the city. But over the past 8 years, the council achieved a long list of accomplishments. And this was done in a very difficult time with a great recession. But we have achieved a extremely strong financial health, increased our bond rating, better to achieve our interest rates, debt service savings for property owners, 7 consecutive years of balanced budgets, invested in our public safety, we've improved our customer service, and I think we have pushed, and I think I've had a lot to do to push in the city to think long-term and invest in our infrastructure with an eye towards economic development and opportunity and quality of life issues. I also think we've made government much more open, transparent, and accessible to everyone. I haven't done this by myself. We have a great council that serves the community. But I want to tell you, the role of mayor is very limited by the charter, but each mayor brings their own approach, their own style, and I have tried to bring a leadership style that ensures that everyone in this community has an opportunity to be heard, welcomed, and included in the process. And through that greater participation, I think and involvement, we have built consensus and mutual respect among the various people who have come and shared their thoughts, all to actually achieve our goals, our shared goals. So I thank you all again, and I look forward to answering your questions.
Jim, you've heard some of the candidates talk about drug addiction, homelessness, mental health. What's the city's role in that? What's your vision about that here as mayor of the city if you're reelected?
Well, I think, these are questions that we could talk about for, 30 minutes apiece on. But, in homelessness, obviously, it's been something that's been a cornerstone of the past 8 years for me. I think it's important to note the city, your tax dollars do a whole lot already to keep people from being homeless. It's not just helping, we're doing it on the front end. So, we spend, your tax dollars, you spend $852,000 just on our human services budget alone. And 93% of those dollars go towards rental assistance, keeping people in those homes. No one is ever turned away from our human services department. I want to make sure you know that. We continue to focus in our budget. We make choices every year with your tax dollars. We focus another $286,000. Think about that, your tax dollars, $286,000, supporting agencies like CAP, Transit, McKenna House, Friends Program, Central New Hampshire Crisis Center, Coalition End Homelessness, New Americans. So, I want to make sure that we continue to support those folks who are our best trained responders for people who are the most vulnerable. I think we have to continue to provide our revolving loan account. Most people don't even know the city has this. But when some individual in the community gets stuck with maybe a problem with their roof or utilities, the city's there to give a very, very low interest loan. We need to continue to work with organizations. We, the city, can't do it alone. We cannot do it alone. I can't emphasize that enough. We need you. We need the organizations that you all belong to. But, we work with the Coalition Against Homeless, Salvation Army, those things. They do great work, and we need to continue to support them as a city, and you need to continue to support them as well. Drug addiction, I could go on for a long time, but I want to say this. we're doing a whole lot. Our police, our fire, human services, we are networked into the county. They're doing wonderful work. The state, we're out there, we're aggressive, and we're doing this. But you have to focus on prevention, enforcement, treatment, and recovery. Think about that, because you're not going to arrest your way out of this problem. We've talked about domestic violence a little bit tonight. We have a domestic violence program that you have this similar program going on across the state called PET. It's about prevention, enforcement, and treatment. And what you do is you get to that police officer almost on a social service level, where you reach out to that user and you help them to make sure that they don't find themselves in the same problems they were before. So we need to continue to support our police, our fire, human services, but we're doing a whole lot. And the connections we're making to the community, whether it be with a hospital, I mean, it could go on for days, but we probably do have a lot more to do. I don't deny that, but I think you have to recognize the efforts that are good employees, and we have great city employees who are working today.
One of the things you've talked about in the past and that these candidates have talked about is economic development and tax base expansion. Help us with your vision of how the city can work in its role in economic development and tax base expansion to achieve more of what you hope the city will achieve.
Well, first, I think it's important to understand that the City Council has done a whole lot towards economic development. And first of all, I think you need to provide a stable economic environment. And that's why I said earlier, we provide the bond upgrades for the saving taxpayers money, achieving the AA plus rating, the 7 years of balanced budgets. I mean, we provided that stable economy. We've made investments, smart investments, I believe, in our water plant and distribution systems, our wastewater plant. We've seen upgrades there, our roadway upgrades, and particularly in the collection and the arterials. The city plays a huge role in economic development now. I mean, we've invested in a lot of the projects that don't happen without city support. So if you think about it, the Endicott Hotel, Menino Place, Smile, Love Building, these all happen with city involvement. We took the opportunity that during the downtime with the recession, not to sit back and wait. We went out there, dealt with the housing codes, 79E, impact fees, we reduced the burden on people. But going forward, we need to build off those successes, and we have to be aggressive in how we market the city, because we have a great story to tell. I believe we personally need somebody to be a point person in terms of economic development. We need to focus on upper floor development or downtown, marketing, focus on tourism, and making the city a destination, which I think it's really becoming. Just take a walk downtown now these days. We need to be attracting new businesses, focus on our clusters that we already have, whether it be in medicine, healthcare, law, retail, education. Think about it. We have a really good system to start with. We need to continue to partner with people like the Chamber, like other organizations, to work with us in terms of marketing. But I think we also need to, and there's so much we can do. I mean, we have the culture, the creative economy, we need to make sure we invest in. I mean, it goes on. We have great stories to tell. But we've got to take that next step. And that's why I went to a lot of different groups, went across the city, and said, I want you to come share your ideas, because we can't do this all by ourselves. Come share your ideas of what you think our vision is, our goals, and what are the tactics we need to invest in the city for strong economic development.
30 seconds, Jim, as a wrap-up in the context of your candidacy.
Well, I guess one of the questions we were asked, I'm going to try to do this in 30 seconds, but I said, what is really the vision for Concord? And I just want to jot down a few ideas, because the vision of what we want to be in 10 years, and my son has a lot better shot of being mayor than me, I'll tell you that. I envision in 10 years a vibrant downtown in Concord and Pannapacker that includes a thriving business community with community events that drive commerce, housing options for all residents that include market rate and high-end housing, a vibrant arts and cultural scene, large variety of restaurants and shops for our residents and our visitors. We need to continue to improve our transportation system and invest in it. I envision a connection of Store Street, north and south, that helps redevelop that north and south opportunity corridors. We have to pay attention and tie into the improvements that will be made in I-93. We need to increase commercial development think about this, commercial development, but within our urban compact district, because that's where our city services are. We have a wonderful opportunity. We have great open space in this community. And as far as continue to invest in open spaces, that is an economic tool of itself. So you want that development to occur within the within the economic boundary, and I promise I'm almost done. I want to continue with a city government I envision that is placing you, the customer, the resident, the taxpayer first, embracing technology so that you can function with government like you do with any other business. A community that really values our seniors, where our refugees, our new Americans are incorporated within our community. A buried northern pass line, how's that? A strong housing first program that continues to address the needs of all the folks in our community. A municipal tax rate that is at the bottom tier of all those cities in the state. Think about that. A tax rate which is at the bottom tier of all the cities in the state. And why? Because that's what you have today. That's the smart investments that we've made in terms of making tough decisions with the budget. And lastly, a community someday where my son, like your kids and family members who want to raise their families here.
Thank you.